All right, tonight, the Supreme Court just took the safety off immigration raids in LA. Not the final word, but an immediate one. And it's loud. Meanwhile, in Georgia, federal agents detained hundreds in a workplace sweep of Hyundai's EV complex. This whole idea was they're just picking fruit. Maybe not. They're just doing, this is my favorite, they're just doing jobs that Americans won't do. So Americans won't work in an EV plant? More than 300 of them South Koreans. South Koreans, not Mexicans, not not poor black and brown people, yellow people, and not people from China even, from South Korea, someone who's an ally. Well, this of course is triggering a diplomatic scramble with a treaty with a treaty ally. So if you thought immigration lived at the border, the news just moved to your street, your job site, your church parking lot. So we're going to peel back what the court actually did and what tactics are now in play. Who gets swept up? And how a raid in Ella Bell, Georgia, turned into a test of American law, American business, and American foreign policy. All right, this is an emergency order, not a full dress opinion after arguments. It lifts the lower court block and lets federal agents resume aggressive immigration stops in much of Southern California while the lawsuit continues. Translation: enforcement goes forward now. The merit fights come later. So what was blocked? A federal judge had barred agents from relying on factors like a person's race or their ethnicity, hard word for Willie, language, job site, or being at a location like day labor corners and to justify immigration stops. Supreme Court removed that block, at least for now. One justice stressed what older president said: parent ethnicity can be considered as one factor among others, but cannot be the only reason to stop somebody. The dissent warned this greenlights racial profiling and will sweep up US citizens and legal residents. People who look Latino, who speak Spanish, and who work at low-wage jobs. Even if the case later goes against the government, the months now are when arrests, litigation risk, and community impact happen. Policies set during a stay often create facts on the ground. Now, this is how we got here. Let's run the tape. June, July, roving operations ramp up across LA and inland counties. Masked, heavily armed teams, workplace and street stops. So a lawsuit got filed. In July, district courts issued temporary restraining orders limiting stops based on appearance, language, location, and job type. In August, the Ninth Circuit declines to lift the order. The administration asked the Supreme Court to intervene. Today, the High Court lifts the limits pending appeal. Raids resume under the administration's broader criteria. So what does roving mean? Agents proactively patrol, stop, and question without a fixed checkpoint. Okay? So it isn't like they're at the corner there and they're waiting for people to come through. No, they just ride up and down the streets. Okay? They go to that place near the Home Depot, right? Where they're all people are just standing around, right? Waiting for a truck to say, I need three guys. Three guys hop in, right? And the fact of the matter is, that happens all over the country. That happens all over the country. Um, so they rely on a totality of circumstances, time, place, behavior, tips, prior patterns, and again demographic cues. The legal test is reasonable suspicion and not probable cause. That lower threshold is the hinge on which all of this swings. So here's what's on the table now. Back on the table. Location cues, sorry. Day labor corners, car washes, tow yards, um, Lowe's and Home Depot parking lots, right? Job cues, construction, agriculture, low wage contract work, Hyundai EV places, language cues, speaking Spanish or accented Spanish or English during an encounter, demographic cues, apparent ethnicity, hair or attire consistent with field work as a part of a larger mix, not alone. Here's some of the risks, though. Mistaken identity. U.S. citizens or legal residents detained while they prove status. Scope creep, and this happens in government. Stops that begin as a civil immigration checks that can lead to unrelated criminal exposure. Community temperature. Protests, counter protests, and pressure on local police to assist or refuse. Now, guardrails do exist in theory. Ethnicity can't be the only basis. Agents must release people once lawful status is clear. Record keeping and body cams, if used, can and should be audited. In practice, those guardrails live or die on supervision and litigation fear. All right, folks. If you're up late at night or if you're up early in the morning and you need that caffeine jolt, do me a favor, go to www.7weekscoffee.com, www.7weekscoffee.com, because 10% of every bag purchased goes to support a pro-life clinic to save women and, more importantly, save babies. That's www.7weekscoffee. Make your morning coffee mean something. Now, here's the one you heard of. Here's what happened. Federal agents swept a massive electric vehicle manufacturing and battery complex near Savannah, Georgia. Roughly 475 people were detained. More than 300 of them South Koreans. Among them, many were at a battery plant under construction. Some worked via contractors and subcontractors. Officials say that some had overstayed work visas or were working without proper authorization. Others allegedly crossed the border unlawfully. What we don't know is who exactly hired who, at which tiers of the contractor chain, who faces criminal versus civil exposure, and which detainees will fight removal versus accepted repatriation. Hyundai says it's cooperating. No direct detentions of Hyundai employees were confirmed. Work at the main EV plant continued. The battery joint venture paused parts of the site. Now, the diplomatic wrinkle is this: Seoul moved very quickly. Counselor teams were on site. Deal for release and return flights for several hundred. Sharp political scrutiny at home. South Korea got on it. They got on it. Now, allies watch how allies treat their people. So South Korea, frankly, isn't any investor. It's a defense partner that hosts U.S. forces and coordinates on North Korea on chips and EV supply chains. If their senior engineers and skilled workers feel like targets, that spooks the boardroom and the parliament back home. The two messages collide. Washington to businesses say this: bring your factories, follow our rules. Seoul to Washington, we invested billions and shipped teams under your rules. Don't humiliate them on the 6 o'clock news. Likely near term fix: expedited removals and repatriation for those who are out of status. Quiet talks about temporary workers' pathways for specialists, stricter compliance audits for contractors, and more corporate CYA and mega sites. Now, Hyundai may have a point, but the fact of the matter is that they were sloppy in Georgia, and they got a whole bunch of subcontractors in who were just hiring whomever, right? And they got caught up in it. Okay. Here's the law in plain English. Fourth Amendment 101. Take out your pencils. To stop you, the government needs reasonable suspicion, specific, articulable facts that you are violating the law. For immigration, the Supreme Court long ago said ethnicity can be a relevant factor among others near the border, but not the sole reason to stop anyone. Now, today's order does not rewrite that rule. You're going to hear a bunch of that, but today's order does not rewrite that rule. It removes a local ban that has forced agents to ignore those cues. Although, I mean, practically it swings the pendulum back toward broader discretion and higher risk of error. Two truths can live together. Yes, a nation must control its borders and enforce its laws. Also, yes, dragnet logic can chew up citizens and legal residents if the net is too loose. All right. If you like what we do me a favor. Because frankly, I don't know if this channel is ever going to be monetized. Uh, they suspended our AdSense account about 10 years ago. And from what I understand, that no matter how many times you appeal or throw yourself down, at the feet of the internet overlords, those accounts that have been suspended are very rarely given back to people to earn money. So what we can do that we can band together. And you could visit our Patreon site. That's patreon.com/morning report. That's patreon.com/morning report. And you can help us out there if you'd like, if you like what we're doing, and if you want us to get better, and if you want us to continue doing what we're doing. That's patreon.com/morning report. Thanks. Okay, now for the administration, this is a clear win. The court's emergency orders have repeatedly tilted their way on immigration. Expect more operations and louder messaging, law, order, and sovereignty. For California Democrats and immigrant advocates, it's a gut punch. The lawsuits will continue. State and city leaders will posture about non-cooperation, but the federal agents don't need local permission. For Congress, predictable trench lines. Some Republicans will push employer verification crackdowns and contractor liability. Some Democrats will try to codify limits on profiling. Neither side has the votes to settle the core disputes cleanly. For you, you'll hear dueling horror stories and hero stories. Okay. Both will be true and both will be weaponized. Okay. Okay. Now, we don't do legal advice here, but here's some civic literacy. You can ask, am I free to go? We see this in the Sovereign Citizens video, but you can ask, am I free to go? If the answer is yes, go. Just go. Shut your face. Stop your talking. Stop. It should go like this. Am I free to go? Yes. Thank you. Have a great day, officer. And then you walk off or you drive off. Shut your face. If the answer is no, ask, am I being detained? And for what? If the answer is yes, you are being detained, then you are not free to go. Documents. If you're a citizen, you don't carry a national ID. Okay? We don't have a national ID. If you're a non-citizen, specific rules apply. Okay? Talk to counsel in advance if this concerns you. If you're a non-citizen, there is stuff you have to carry, and you should carry all along. Phones. Record if you get your phone out, you get your phone out, and you wait. Sorry, wrong side. Right. Record from a safe distance. Names and badge numbers will matter later. You know what? Almost every cell phone that's made right now has a great feature called Zoom. You can just like zoom, stay way the heck away, across the street, way the heck away. Use your Zoom. Use your autofocus, use your Zoom. Stay away from these people. Do not obstruct. Not go up there and start asking for badge numbers and they get that stuff later. Employers, if you run a site using layers of subcontractors, get right with the paperwork yesterday. Raids climb contractor ladders. They just go right up the ladder and it'll end up in your lap. Make sure your subs are doing what they're supposed to be doing, or they can't operate on your job. It's as simple as that. Above everything else, stay calm. Don't argue with law enforcement on the sidewalk. Nothing is ever decided. Nothing is ever changed, except you get an obstruction charge and you go to jail. Do not argue with law enforcement on the sidewalk. Let your lawyer argue for you in court. That's just some civic literacy and some civic advice. Not legal advice, because we can't offer you legal advice here, because I am not an attorney. I'm not even an attorney spokesperson. Okay. Here's what to watch for next. Appeal timeline. The Ninth Circuit merits panel and then likely back to the Supreme Court. Well, the Ninth Circuit is going to say, merits panel is going to do their thing, and then it's going to end up back in the Supreme Court for the full question. Metrics. Daily arrest targets, detention numbers, mistaken identity detentions, any criminal charges from the Georgia cases. So we're going to be looking at everything. Arrest targets, people who get detained, how many that were screwed up, and any criminal charges from the Georgia case. Now, something else that we have to look at is diplomacy. Whether Seoul, was the capital of South Korea, by the way, accepts repatriation quietly or makes noise that chills future deployments. Now, my guess is they're not going to make a whole bunch of noise. Seoul, Korea needs the United States desperately. Samsung, Korean, Hyundai, Korean. They they need us militarily. They're not just hosting our military in their fair country to help us. They're hosting our military in their fair country to help them. They are corporate things to watch. Whether mega projects demand ironclad visa pipelines before breaking ground. And that may be, that's kind of what I talked about before when we're talking about making sure that down the ladder, if you have this huge project, that all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dotted, that you have every jot and tittle as far as immigration status goes from all your subs. That's going to be very, very important moving forward. That's for sure. Um, and before we finish up, I want to talk to you about the great folks at Bloomingdale's Flower Shop. Christine at Bloomingdale's Flower Shop is a Tampa stalwart. They are the best place for local flowers. Don't go to 1-800 blah blah blah. Order if you're in the area, in the Central Florida area, order flowers from Bloomingdale's Flower Shop. www.bloomingdays.com. www.bloomingdays.com. All right, now, and I seem to say this a lot, but it's true, and we have to grab onto this. We can hold two ideas together. Two things can be true at the same time. Borders matter, and so does the Bill of Rights. The court just moved the levers toward speed and discretion. That means the burden shifts to supervisors. That means the burden shifts to body cams, and the burden shifts to judges to keep those levers from crushing the wrong people. The hammer fell. Now we watch to see who it hits and whether the law keeps its promise to all of us. My name is Willie Lawson. This is the Morning Report. Have a good night now.